Coming up tonight, we'll give you an insider's look at what's arguably the biggest home game for the Rebels this year. I'm Brandon Rook.
And I'm Jennifer Lott. Keep it local, keep it here. You're watching NewsWatch 99. The LSU game is just 3 days away, and today's rain has left the Grove a muddy mess. Ole Miss workers are scrambling to get the Grove back in shape for the huge crowd that will begin arriving tomorrow. NewsWatch reporter Maura Anthony has the story.
Because of the heavy rain this past Saturday, just hours before kickoff, the Grove is in ruins. The combination of storms, large crowds, and immense piles of trash accumulated has transformed the Grove into a large, muddy puddle. This is especially devastating to Ole Miss fans and students alike, for the Grove is one of the most distinguished and original tailgating experiences, according to Bleacher Report.
The Grove was extremely disgusting this past Saturday at the A&M game because it rained for about 30 minutes and then all the mud was gathered up and no one could walk.
A large amount of pressure is put on the university's physical plant department, who keep the Grove in shape for every home football weekend.
They just usually have to clean up the Grove as much as they can with trash. And the next day on Monday morning, they usually lay out hay in some of the muddy areas. And that's all they can really do until game season's over. I think if people stopped smoking so much, there's so many cigarette butts and the chemicals in that can hurt the grass, and probably not using so many smokers out there like the grills because it kills the grass, drinking so much because it's bad for the grass as well. So I mean, it looks pretty awful right now to me.
I'll never miss the Grove, rain or shine, even if it's hailing.
With the Rebels' next 5 football games being held here in Oxford, the physical plant department has their work cut out for them when it comes to keeping the Grove as beautiful as possible. For NewsWatch 99, I'm Maura Anthony.
Thanks, Maura. After every home game, the Ole Miss physical plant has a strict schedule to restore the Grove, and rain doesn't help them stay on track.
The mud is not the only problem the Grove faces on game day. Rebel fans often leave behind trash, but the Office of Sustainability has made an effort to recycle these reusable items. NewsWatch reporter Kelly Scott has more on the story.
During the fall, thousands of Rebel fans flock to the Grove on home football weekends. Rated the #1 tailgating experience multiple times, the red and blue trash cans are essential. On an average game day, fans produce over 60 tons of waste.
The Grove is going green with the help of the Office of Sustainability and Rebel fans by recycling on game days.
The Green Grove Initiative is our game day recycling program. It has been around for the past 5 years and has gotten bigger and better every year.
This season has already been extremely successful for the Green Grove Initiative. Last weekend, the program recycled over 2 tons of plastic and aluminum bottles.
To like over 2%, which is a big increase compared to like the 1-point-something% we've had in the past. So it's definitely grown within this past year, and the office has grown as well to help promote the campaign throughout all over campus. So.
The most important part of the program takes place the week after game day, where Green Grove volunteers meet at the Oxford Recycling Center to sort the aluminum and plastic cans. Even after just 5 years, the Green Grove Initiative is thriving, and the administration has high hopes for the future.
So much trash out there, and we want to make sure that the Grove is there for a long time for the future, for future Rebels to enjoy.
For NewsWatch, I'm Kelly Scott.
If you're interested in volunteering for the Green Grove Initiative, visit them online at www.olemiss.edu/green.
Ole Miss and LSU have a rivalry that's lasted more than 100 years. There have been lots of great games, but none more famous than Billy Cannon's run, which ended the Rebels' hopes for a national championship in 1959. One Oxford resident remembers that night well. Ole Miss All-American Jake Gibbs. NewsWatch reporter John Ciccoli has the story.
It was a showdown between 2 undefeated SEC powerhouses. and two very bitter rivals.
It was Halloween night in 1959 that ignited the fierce rivalry between Ole Miss and LSU. But a play between LSU's Billy Cannon and Ole Miss punter Jake Gibbs will always be remembered.
Ole Miss, he stands on his own 28. He gets a pass from center, he boots it and gets another nice kick away going way downfield. Billy Cannon watches it bounce, he takes it on his own 11, he comes back upfield at the 15, stumbles momentarily, he's at the 20, running hard at the 25, gets away from 1 man to 30, still runs at 25, at the 35, he's down to 50, he's in the 40.
Cannon's 89-yard return lifted number 1 LSU to a 7-3 win over number 3 Ole Miss. Gibbs thinks about the play often and how Cannon countered his strategic punt.
They had a rule that do not field the ball within the 15-yard line. And when the ball hit on the 11, he was on the sidelines hollering, no, no, no. Then when Cannon broke 1 tackle, broke 2 tackles, broke 3 or 4 tackles, he was saying, go, go, go.
On Ole Miss's next possession with 10 minutes to go, quarterback Doug Elmore drove the Rebels to the 2-yard line with 18 seconds left. On 4th and goal, Elmore was stopped by no other than Cannon to secure LSU's win.
Oh, it hurt us, and you never seen a bunch of players crying like babies in that locker room. It was unbelievable stuff. You can't describe the feeling in there. How you felt like you should have won a game. We didn't win it. We didn't know we were going to have another opportunity to play them again.
On January 1st, 1960, the two teams met again in the Sugar Bowl. With the pressure on the Tigers, the Rebels dominated with a 21-0 victory.
So it was two teams that respected one another. The universities respected one another. But when it came to playing, you got with it.
The two games against one another that season sparked a rivalry that is still well alive today.
And the fans love it. They can't wait for this game. You see a lot of LSU people up here, too, in that purple. Our fans support our team on the road good, too, so they'll have people here.
Conditions won't be as bad as in 1959, but when the Tigers face off against the Rebels, it will add another chapter to the historic rivalry. For NewsWatch, this is John Tricoli.
Thanks, John. Ask any Ole Miss fans about the LSU rivalry and they'll have plenty of stories to tell. That includes current students. NewsWatch reporter Candace Coleman has more.
As times have changed, so did the name. In 2008, when the matchup was renamed the Magnolia Bowl after the state flowers of both Louisiana and Mississippi. With this new name came two back-to-back victories for the Rebels. When the LSU captured the last 3 victories, the Magnolia Bowl still has a positive reputation around Ole Miss.
It just makes it that much bigger if we win the game because now there's actually like a symbol to represent the game. It's not just a normal game anymore. There's that Magnolia title that you can claim if you come out on top.
Well, the thing for LSU and Ole Miss, recently LSU has had a bunch of national success. They have huge draft picks. They've won a couple national championships. They're a huge powerhouse football team. For Ole Miss, they're trying to get back to that. They've gotten close a couple times. Houston not had Ole Miss in the realm of things with the Cotton Bowl. And a lot of first-round draft picks, had Eli Manning, obviously, in the early 2000s. But since the Magnolia Bowl was sort of developed in 2008, Ole Miss had won the first 2. With Les Miles, I guess you could argue he lost the game. And then, ever since then, LSU sort of dominated the game. We saw last year, LSU overlooked Ole Miss, and Ole Miss nearly pulled the upset. So I think for this to be a real intense rivalry, Ole Miss has got to win a little bit more, and we need some back and forth.
Everyone gets so fired up about it because it's not only so much fun, but it's such a big rivalry. I have a ton of friends coming in, trying to find them student tickets right now so they can sit with us, and the Grove is a big deal. Everyone has a great time for LSU weekend.
The Ole Miss Rebels are still trying to return to championship form. We'll see what happens Saturday at the 6th annual Magnolia Bowl. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Candace. Drinking in the Grove is a favorite for Ole Miss students, but the effects of drinking all day and getting behind the wheel can be fatal. The University Police Department is raising awareness on campus with their drunk driving simulator. NewsWatch reporter Anna Frost has more on the story.
Over 3 million students admit to drinking and driving. More than 110,000 students are arrested each year by local or campus police due to driving under the influence. The rate of drunk driving is highest among 21 to 25-year-olds. However, this remains a campus issue.
Many of them, may go out and drive impaired and maybe with a sober eye, maybe not really understand what it does to you, what being impaired does to you when you're driving, how it affects your ability to make decisions and your reaction time.
I'm here at the Student Health Fair trying out the virtual driving simulator provided by UPD that gives students an insight on what drinking and driving really looks like. A drunk driving simulator allows a student to drive in a dangerous DUI situation, such as delayed response to controls and narrowing the field of view. It allows you to feel firsthand how alcohol impairs your ability to steer and brake, and also shows the danger to you when other drivers are driving under the influence.
I thought it was interesting because drunk driving is such like a big problem. So like if you kind of realize it without putting other people in danger, it's like a nice practice.
Well, we want students to know that there's other options out there. There's other options to get home and to get to the places that they want to go. And then, we just want them more or less, if they choose to drink, if they're, of drinking age, we just want them to be responsible so they can get home safely.
For NewsWatch, I'm Anna Frost.
University officials are still trying to correct game day parking issues here on campus.
After the break, NewsWatch has an exclusive interview with the university's Director of Parking and Transportation, Isaac Estelle.
Keep it here for NewsWatch, Lafayette County's only local newscast.
And later, I'll give you a look at this week's weather in the Storm Watch Center. Stay tuned. We're now joined by the university's Director of Parking and Transportation, Isaac Askill, to join with talking with us about the major challenges with this weekend's game against LSU. Isaac, after last weekend, a lot of people were concerned about parking and traffic on campus. Does the parking department have a new plan this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. Working with UPD Athletics and the city, we've made a few tweaks from last week. Basically, we're going to do away with the designated lanes for the buses after the game. So we want to make sure that people know that those that will park in those lots, that there will be a delay after the game. We'll have the buses lined up. First groups, when they leave, they'll be able to ride the bus, but after that they're going to have to wait until after the one-way traffic to get the buses back in. But other than that, there will also be some additional changes on traffic flow, but UPD and Highway Patrol are working on those.
So what do you think the typical fan should do when wanting to go to the Grove? Should they come earlier to avoid traffic and parking situations, or should they go about their normal behavior?
The biggest thing is come early and be patient. Those are the two things that we ask everybody. This last game was a perfect storm. Everybody stayed till the last minute of the game, and everybody wanted to get out at the same time. So it was a perfect storm, but we've made some improvements.
Do you think that leaving the game this time will be a little bit smoother with this new plan, that maybe campus will be open earlier and after the game and things like that?
The goal, yes, the goal is always to make it as convenient and efficient as possible. We've got a lot of agencies that are coordinating this, and we're all dedicated and committed to making sure it's successful and convenient for everyone.
All right, thank you. I'm sure it will be. And thanks, Isaac. Keep it here for NewsWatch. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Well, the rain showers have certainly cooled temperatures down. Our high today was only 66, almost 10 degrees below what we would typically see this time of year. Right now, we're in upper 50s. 59 is our current temperature. Winds coming from the north at 5 miles an hour, and it's pretty humid out there. It's 90% humidity. That's making it feel more like 60. And taking a look at the satellite, what is causing these showers is this weak front that's making its way through. Most of the rain activity, though, is to our north in Tennessee and Kentucky, but we're still getting a few scattered showers throughout the evening. And temperatures right now are pretty cool around the area. 60 right now in South Haven, 59 in Oxford, a little warmer over in Tupelo, 64 right now. And tomorrow temperatures will be similar to what they were today. Upper 60s will be what we will typically be seeing. 70 in South Haven. as well as in Corinth, 68 in Holly Springs, and 72 down in Tupelo. And tonight will be low in the mid-50s. There will be a 50% chance of rain throughout the evening, and winds will persist from the north at 5 miles per hour, and it'll be mostly cloudy skies throughout the night. And tomorrow's high in the upper 60s, mostly cloudy, and we will see a 30% chance of rain in the morning, but then things will clear up lightly into the afternoon. And taking a look at our 5-day forecast, we will see on Friday highs get into the low 70s. However, on Saturday and Sunday, the highs will dip back into the mid-60s, and we'll even see lows into the 40s for the next few days. So once those rainstorms move out tomorrow and Friday, no rain in our future, so that's good for game day.
So do you think that the weather's going to be favorable this weekend for the game?
I think it will be. I think we won't see showers, which will be good for the Grove. I know it's been like so soaked out there, and on Saturday it was just miserable tromping through that mud, but I think we'll have a better game day on Saturday.
Thanks, Kelly. The Senate has announced a deal to end the government shutdown and to lift the nation's debt ceiling. The new plan will fund the government through January 15th and lift the debt limit through February 7th. Republicans remain determined to repeal this law, but for today, America is relieved as the nation's government looks prepared to reopen, avoid default, and to protect the historic cuts under the Budget Control Act. Here's what White House Press Secretary Jay Carney said about today's deal.
We've said that from the beginning, and we're going to say it right up to the end because it's true. The American people have paid a price for this. And nobody who's sent here to Washington by the American people can call themselves a winner if the American people have paid a price for what's happened.
Speaking of the bipartisan deal, the Dow Jones has jumped more than 200 points as a result of the deal. A chief investment officer says that if agreement closes, investors will breathe a big sigh of relief and refocus their attention on more important matters such as corporate earnings and the economy. Stocks have held up fairly well during the government shutdown. That was a sign that Wall Street was correctly betting that Washington can reach an agreement. The market began to price in a positive resolution last week, fueling a big market rally.
President Obama says he hasn't given up on a new immigration bill. He plans to push his cause after the government shutdown and the debt ceiling dispute is resolved. Obama's goals for immigration are likely to hit opposition in the Republican-run House, where members describe a proposed path to citizenship as amnesty for lawbreakers. The Senate passed an immigration bill earlier this year, but the House has not voted. Obama places the blame for that on House Speaker John Boehner, much like he has during the nation's shutdown and the debt ceiling conflict.
In more national news, 4 people have died and 1 has been left hospitalized after a boat carrying Haitian and Jamaican nationals capsized early this morning. The U.S. Coast Guard responded around 1 a.m. after a distress call alerted authorities to the overturned boat 7 miles east of Miami. Officials say that 9 people were clinging to the boat when crews arrived. The Coast Guard is still searching for more possible survivors.
Miami's airport concourse J has reopened after a bomb scare. Police closed and evacuated the concourse for about an hour this morning after a bomb-sniffing dog detected something on a nearby pallet. Everything has since been reopened. The concourse was only evacuated for about an hour while Miami police investigated the suspected item.
An airport employee was arrested in connection with dry ice explosions at the Los Angeles International Airport. Officials say that DeCarlo Bennett, a 28-year-old employee for a ground handling company, is being charged with possessing and exploding a destructive device near an aircraft. Police said that they don't believe that the explosions were an act of terror, but could be the work of a disgruntled employee. The 4 bombs were made by putting dry ice in 20-ounce plastic bottles. 2 of the bombs were found prior to the explosion, but the other 2 exploded inside the airport. No one was injured in either incident.
The United States described 2 days of nuclear negotiations with Iran as both serious and candid. A senior U.S. administration official told reporters that no breakthroughs have been achieved and that many disagreements remain. Other Western diplomats involved in the talks say they didn't see a narrowing of differences between the gathered nations over Iran's nuclear ambitions. Western officials say Iran needs to increase the transparency of its nuclear program, reduce its uranium stockpiles, and take other steps to assure the world that it does not want atomic weapons. The nations will regather in Geneva on November 7th to continue the discussion. Now let's head over to Sudu Upadhyay at the Sports Watch Center. Sudu?
Thanks, Jennifer. Coming up, we'll update you on the latest Ole Miss football news, so keep it here for Sports Watch, covering local sports like no one else. Welcome back. Today, Ole Miss head coach Hugh Freeze confirmed on his SEC teleconference call that cornerback Anthony Standifer has been dismissed from the team, but Freeze gave no reason on Standifer's dismissal. Standifer was a sophomore from Crete Monet High School in Illinois and was credited heavily by Freeze in landing last year's #1 wide receiver in the country, Laquan Treadwell. Standifer played in 6 games as a Rebel over the last 2 years, making 6 tackles. His dismissal takes away depth at an already thin secondary group. Now it's time for our weekly edition of Rebs in the Pros, where we take a look at the top Ole Miss athletes that have contributed to their team's success on the professional level. Our first Reb in the Pro is Patrick Willis. Willis returned from a groin injury last Sunday to start at inside linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. Willis recorded over 8 tackles and forced a fumble in a 32-20 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Our next Reb in the Pros is Tremaine McBride. The Giants cornerback made 2 tackles and forced a fumble in the Giants' 27-21 loss at Chicago on Thursday night. McBride has started in all 6 games with the Giants this season. Our other Reb in the Pros is Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Green Ellis had a game-high 18 attempts and has been the Bengals' feature back for the season. He also gained 86 yards on the ground last Sunday. And our last Reb in the Pros is Lance Lynn. Lynn, who pitched 5 innings of last night's game for the NLCS, allowed only 6 hits and threw 5 strikeouts. Lynn's Cardinals defeated the Dodgers 4-2. Switching back over to Ole Miss football, the Rebels will have to deal with a top 10 team this weekend and a large amount of injuries. Here's Tyler Bischoff with the story.
A very tough opponent coming in this week, and we're a beat-up football team right now.
As the LSU game gets closer and closer, Ole Miss is still plagued by injuries. Cedarius Bryant, who leads the team in tackles, was carted off the field late in the Texas A&M game after colliding with Johnny Manziel. Social media exploded after the game with support for Bryant. Bryant only suffered a concussion and hopes to play this weekend. However, Ole Miss will be without Robert Kimdichie for several home games due to a hamstring injury. Ole Miss could be without other key defensive players, such as C.J. Johnson, Isaac Gross, Mike Hilton, and others.
I don't like the Rebels in this game, just because of the injuries. No Kimdichie, no Cedarius Bryant, and then offensively Jeff Scott being banged up. I don't think Ole Miss is going to have a huge opportunity.
As Ole Miss deals with injuries on the defensive side of the ball, they have to prepare for one of the top offenses in the SEC as LSU comes to Oxford on Saturday.
The Tigers are averaging over 41 points per game, and running back Jeremy Hill is second in the SEC in rushing.
Offensively, LSU has a 3-headed monster. They've got a really good quarterback who can deliver on first, second, and third down. They've got a downhill running game with Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill's come a long way. They have a big offensive line. He's a between-the-tackles runner. They get a lot of yards after contact. And as far as receiving goes, they have Odell Beckham Jr., who could be the best receiver in the SEC. So with those 3 guys, they're unbelievable on offense.
Despite LSU's 6-1 record, Ole Miss fans are still excited at the chance to knock off a top 10 team.
I'm most excited because I've got a lot of friends coming in, and I know that LSU is our biggest rivalry outside of state, and honestly, LSU probably brings more people to the game than Mississippi State does.
For NewsWatch, I'm Tyler Bischoff.
Thanks, Tyler. In baseball news, Rebel fans can get a preview of the upcoming baseball season and check out this year's baseball team at the annual Red-Blue game on Saturday afternoon, prior to the football game against LSU. Rebel fans will get a preview of collegiate baseball's 12th ranked recruiting class. The game will begin at noon and is open to the public with free admission. Switching over to softball, the 2013 Ole Miss schedule was released yesterday. The Lady Rebs will play 24 home games, including 5 games as a part of the 8th annual Red and Blue Classic. The Rebels will also play in 4 tournaments prior to the opening of the season's Southeastern Conference slate, which will feature 8 series against teams that all advanced to the 2013 NCAA tournament. The season will open on February 7th in Fort Myers, Florida, where the Lady Rebs will play 5 games in a tournament hosted by Florida Gulf Coast College. That's all the time we have for sports tonight. For more, follow at SportsWatch_99 on Twitter. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but keep it here for NewsWatch, Lafayette County's only local newscast.
That's our show for tonight. If you only caught part of the show, make sure to watch us again at 10 on Channel 99. For NewsWatch, I'm Jennifer Lott.
And I'm Brandon Rook. You can also watch the show online at dmonline.com/newswatch. And for news updates throughout the day, you can follow us on Twitter at NewsWatch_99. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.